So we're picking up with React Props and State Lab, which is our little adoption agency. So I'm going to open up the lesson. I'm also going to run npm test to get the test running in the terminal here. And of course, I need to run npm start to run my browser and see what's happening. So for reference, this is, right now, for the record, I'm still on v6. If you switch to v7, that's fine. I don't even know. I think the same lab was going to be there. Let's see. This is React, Forms, Prop State and Events Lab. And here we are. We're building our little adoption agency here. And let's see what we have so far. If I open this thing up on localhost 5000, oops, which one is it? Is it localhost? Oh, it's not running yet. Okay. It's thinking about it. And so far, it looks like we're passing most of the stuff for app. This last one is going to, we're not going to be able to finish for a little bit. So we're going to have to skip that for a moment. And okay. Did we render successfully? Is it 3000? There it is. Okay, so let's make that bigger so you can actually see it. By the way, just let me know if I need to make any of this bigger. Cool. So for now, I've just got all these in the same window. I can break them up if that's helpful as this gets more complicated. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Make it a little bit bigger here. Make this certainly a little bit bigger. Is this readable for you, Kevin and Nhi?
Yes.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So let's just see. I'm going to open up my React DevTools, which allows me to then click on one of these things and kind of look at it, and I can see some of the components where I can then see my props down here. My state is an app. My state is filters, which is currently all, and pets, which is currently an empty array. If I choose dogs, for example, I can see my state change there in app. In filters, I have an onChange type prop coming down, and that's what's allowing me to make that change. So when I change the select here from one thing to another, that's calling the method that I sent down, my callback function here, which is onChange type. Okay. And I think this is pretty much where we were, right? Something like this. I'm not sure. Let's see. We passed down onChange type, and we showed the two different ways. These are effectively equivalent. I can either define the function or the method the old-fashioned way and then bind it in my constructor, or I can just use an arrow function, which will effectively do the same thing. Either way, I'm setting this appropriately. Let's see. With my fetch, I should be getting a particular group of pets, and let's just see if that's happening. I'm going to invoke my optional callback here and console log my pets. This.state.pets. Let's just see what happens here. I'm not sure that we've got this wired up completely yet. Let's find out where we left off. So what I'm going to do is choose dogs, and I'm going to choose my console because I've added my little callback, which will simply log the result of the change in the state. And I'm going to click Find Pets, and it looks like I do get 22 pets back here. Let's make sure these all look like dogs. And I can barely see it there, but if I open this up a little more, I see that they are, in fact, all dogs. If I choose micropigs, I'm going to click Find Pets. And there are the 4 micropigs. This is looking good. Okay. So I've passed down these two functions as props to my filter. And now when my filter changes, it changes the state of app, but the filter type, which in turn affects the array pets. Okay. And I shouldn't say in turn. What I should say is that when I actually click Find Pets, then we look at the state and use then that state change to change and update my pets using this fetch. Okay, there's where I actually do the changing. Any questions as far as what's happening so far? Okay, let's see. Hello, who just joined us there?
Hello, I'm Yas.
Hey, Yas, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Awesome. So just for context, we're working through, this is part 3, so we've already done some work in this lab, but we're working through the React props and state lab where we're building the adoption site. Are you familiar with this one, Yas?
Yes, I think.
Okay. So so far we've passed down two methods that allow us callbacks for either changing the selection or actually clicking Find Pets. And when we actually click Find Pets, we update the state of the pets array, which is so far as I think we've gotten. So I think the next step is let's look at the lab and see what else it wants us to do.
I don't think I had this lab, prop state and events lab. Yeah, I'm looking for it.
So if we, in the drop down, it's under React.
Right.
And then under forms, oops, not events, under forms. And it's the last one listed there under forms, props, state, and events lab.
Okay, let me get, yeah, I see that now.
Okay, cool. So let's look and see what's next according to the test and according to the directions. I like to look at both personally. So first let's look at the test. It says that adopting pets should toggle a pet's adopted status. But we haven't built that yet. We haven't built anything that says adopt pet, so I know I can't really do this yet. I can't change that yet. So let's look at rendering pet. So here we are at the pet component. So looks like rendering props should render name, the correct gender icon for the appropriate gendered pet, type, age, and weight. Okay, so this is good. I know that somehow, somewhere, pet did. Where should this go?
To render a pet component?
Yeah. And let's look through the instructions. It says filters, pet browser. Okay, here we go. Should receive a pet's prop, and that we have already. This is basically, I think, where we left off last time. We're rendering our pets to pet browser. It's an array of pets. Okay, that's good. The component uses to render pet components. App should determine which pets to pass down as props. App should be responsible for filtering this list based on the type of pets the user wants to see. And we're already seeing by our console log that that is happening because I'm passing this .state.pets, and I used my optional callback from setState to show me that we are in fact getting the appropriate list every time we choose a particular type of pet. So this is good. And finally, if I select all, I should see 22 plus 4 plus 9. Let's see, I think that's 35. It is. My math is good. I'm as happy about that as I am about seeing all the pets here. So this is good news. So let's continue on here. So it says that our pet browser is the component that should render our pets. So let's find pet browser. And here it is. And hey, look at that. Pet component should go here. Well, that's easy. How about I've already imported it, okay? And let's just do that. Let's just say pet. Okay, that's good news, right? So right now it's just an empty div, right? I could say something like hello pet. Well, let's look at pet. I'm gonna split this right. Actually, I don't think I need to split that right now. I think it's fine for now, just looking at it. Okay, good, so we already have some information here, and let's see what that looks like. Good, there's a pet, that looks good. Okay, but that's not exactly what they want, right? They want a card. They want a pet card for each pet, right? So we have kind of two options. We could either try to build out pet first, or we could try to render one card per pet. I think that makes, to me, that feels better. What do you all think? What would you like to do first?
One card per pet.
Okay, so let's look at pet browser, which is the component that renders the actual pet. So what are my options here? I know that I want a bunch of these, as many pets that match the search. I want that many pet components to go here. What are my options?
So you want to do a map through, I guess we're going to have props. So map through the props of pets that are coming through. And for each of those, you want to render a card.
Okay, so something like this?
Something like that.
Okay, so I'm going to map each pet into a pet card. Okay. Something along those lines. If I save that, let's see how that changed what we see over here. Okay, all kinds of terrible things have happened now. This.props.map is not a function, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's because I forgot. What did I forget here?
So wherever the state resides, you need to send the props down to the pet browser.
Okay, so here's pet browser, and pet browser gets called from app. So I will actually split this time. So app is in fact passing pet browser a prop called pets. So how do I access that prop in my pet browser? I think I'm going to go ahead and make this big. I think that will be helpful now. And I actually like them in different order. I like to put my browser on that side, my Atom here, and my terminal window on the left. That's how I like it. Okay, so I'm passing down this prop, but am I actually referencing it here? What do I need here?
I was going to say destructure something, but maybe not.
That's a good thought for sure. And destructuring we may want to do, but I don't think we want to do it yet, or at least not when it comes to passing from pet browser down to pet. Maybe we do, I don't know. But for now, I know that I want to pass along each pet here. And what did I do? What am I missing in this statement?
This props.pet?
Yeah, this .props.pet. And if you're ever not sure, .pets I should say, we can always put a pause here, or we can inspect. If I go back and I inspect, actually I'm not going to be able to inspect via React because it didn't load properly. But if I weren't sure, I could get rid of this, delete it, and look at this thing and look at the props that are coming in. And that should do it. That should show me now. I should be now rendering a pet card if I did everything right. One pet card per pet that actually matches. So right now we should see 35 cards show up here. Maybe not. Well, oh, maybe it doesn't happen until then. All right, of course. So it doesn't, it renders initially and nothing has changed from when I clicked all. That's something I might want to think about changing, right? Maybe I want all the pets to show up right away. But for now, let's just move forward and move through the tests. We can think about changing that later. Now we should see, I guess since I chose cats, I have 9 cards. If I chose all, I should see 35. There they are. If I choose pigs, I should see 4, and so on and so forth. So this is good. Now I'm seeing as many cards as I'm seeing pets in my pets prop here. And that's good news for sure. Now, this is a common warning. Anyone know how I can fix this warning? It's literally exactly what the warning says.
So you could set the key equal to the ID, the pet ID.
Yes, I certainly could. So what I could do is say each one's going to have a key. And does it have an ID? Is that one of the things that it has?
I think we need to look.
I should look. Yeah, exactly. I should definitely look and see what each of these things has, which we'll see here in just a minute. So in fact, they do have an ID, and it looks like so we want something unique. That clearly looks like a unique identifier there, so that's perfect. So that satisfies my warning. I no longer have that warning. In fact, I no longer have any warnings. This is not anything to do with that we have to worry about up there. That's my computer. Cool. So now what? This is good so far, but I definitely want to see something other than all this stuff.
So we need to just pull that out, those pieces of information out from each individual pet,
Right.
each iteration of the array.
Yeah, and so I'm going to show what I think is, personally, I think is the simplest way. I'm going to say pet as a prop equals P, right? I'll just call this pet to be a little bit more verbose. And we'll say that I'm passing for each of these pets objects that's coming through in props, I'm going to pass the thing down to my pet card. And then if I split this to the right, and I like splitting this because I like to see my parent is passing down to an intermediate, is passing down to a child, okay? So now let's see. Everywhere that I have pet name, pet age, pet weight, I can actually input the actual values. But can anyone help me out? Like, what is that going to look like here?
So here, I think we could destructure first in order to do that, right?
Okay, and what is that? How would we go about doing that?
So, right, I think it's below the render is where you typically do that.
Okay.
So we're going to destructure the props,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Okay, what does that look like?
So this dot props, I think. Well, it's pet. This dot pet dot props.
So this dot props dot pet, that's definitely our prop, right? If I wanted to console log this real quick, console.log, I should see once this thing loads, and I choose my micropigs, I should see my console logs here of each of these objects. So that's good news. Yep. So this is my pet prop coming in. So how do I destructure it? What does that look like?
Trying to remember that. So equals, you're going to open the curlies.
So am I going to say equals on this side? Does this thing need to be changed? Or am I creating something such that I'm going to be assigning?
Yeah, it's assigning. So the other side.
And I'm actually going to be making variable declarations. What kind of variable would be most appropriate here? Const for sure. Yes, you're right. Why const? Why not say let?
Because we're not going to reassign this variable.
Yes, because we're not going to change these things. That's exactly right. We're not going to reassign them. And that's really important too. Const is such a good, this is such a nice relationship to be using const here, because I should never be reassigning any parts of my props anyway, right? So this is good news. And I think, Kevin, this is what you were thinking of, right?
Yes.
Okay, something, 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 comma separated, whatever they are, equals, and this is object destructuring. It's the same thing as saying const name equals this dot pet props dot pet dot name, right? And it's the same thing for whatever else we have, which is, looks like name type, so name type and age and weight. So these 4 lines of code are equivalent to doing this, right? And weight. So this is object destructuring. I'm saying declare, I want a variable, in this case 4 variables, one for each of the properties of this object by the corresponding name. And that's what I'm doing here. So oops.
Otherwise, you'd have to just, where you see pet.name in caps on line 17, you'd have to copy over what you wrote here. So this.props.pet.name would have to go there, and it's just more verbose, right?
This is just much nicer. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you completely. But I will make this note. These 4 lines of code are equivalent to the single line above. And I'll just comment these out. So just kind of for reference, these basically that's what this line of code is doing for us, which allows us, as you mentioned very nicely, to now I can just say name, and I can just say age, not page, age. Oh my gosh, not target. Age, thank you. Weight. And what am I missing? Type. Great. And let's see how that changed what we have over here. Okay, cool. Errors. Corresponding JS tag needs to close for my P. I probably did that somehow, somewhere. What line of code are they saying? After weight / div. Weight. Oh, there it is. I deleted that errantly, accidentally, by mistake. Okay. So now Hemingway is 2, weighs 5 pounds, and this is all looking really, really good. Okay. So now I've got all this information. If I click on all, I can see that we have the name. Whoops. Oh, I have to click find pet, sorry. I've got the name, the type, the age, the weight, name, type, age, weight. This is excellent, okay? So I feel like hopefully we've checked something off our list there. Let's look and see what the test is telling us. Oh yeah, we gotta scroll down. Way down, okay. 11 passing, this is feeling good. Why are we getting this output here? Where is this console log coming from? There we go. Okay. Oh, so the right gender icon. Okay, so let's see. Ooh, this is a good one. So how in the world do I get the right gender icon? It looks like, thankfully, I've already got the icon there, so I can just copy paste it. How would I make this happen? Basically, I want the equivalent of saying something like, oh wait, I'm missing something here, aren't I? What am I missing here?
Gender, probably.
Yeah, I'm missing gender. Okay, so let's grab gender. And now what I can do is say, basically, gender, if gender equals female, if I could spell female, then I want to say, well, somebody help me out here. How would I do this in a nice, neat, clean format?
So gender equals female, I think, question mark.
Okay, so you're suggesting a ternary then, right?
A ternary, right?
Okay.
Wait a minute. So we need to have the colon male somewhere.
Yeah. So basically, I want something like this, right? But they don't want the words female or male. Whoops.
We can just copy and paste the signs for male and female from up there.
Right. I think that's exactly the way to go. So let's do that. So let's copy this. Whoops. Copy. And paste it in right here. Except that was, no, that's right. And paste it in here. Oops. Cool. So now if we save that, let's see how this is looking. Let's look at all the pets. And now we see there, I don't know if I like it there, but maybe with a space at least. I think I like the name first. What do y'all think? And so let's find all our pets. And that's looking a little better.
Yeah, it does look better.
Okay, let's see if that passes our test too.
Oh, I think it wanted to only see the symbols, like where you wrote female. I think it wanted a symbol there too, or?
Yeah, I got rid of that. It doesn't say female anymore.
I mean, for the first argument, you think it needs it there? Gender.
Where are you talking about?
Like on 19 where female is in quotes, does it also want the symbol for female instead, or?
So what am I checking here? What is this chunk? What is this tiny little chunk doing right there? Where's gender coming from?
Gender's coming from the array, correct?
Yeah, it's coming from the, well, not technically an array, no. I mean, ultimately, yes, it's coming from an array, but each pet component is only receiving a single object.
Right, okay.
This is the pet that it's receiving. Within that object, Is gender represented by a string, like a spelled out string, or is it represented by a symbol within the object we're passing as props?
Oh, it has to be a string.
It's a string, it's a full string, and that's why this is my comparison, basically. I'm looking at the prop, gender, which I've destructured from this .props.pet, which actually is spelled out male or female. It's not just the symbol. But what I actually want to display is the symbol itself. And now I'm going to put a space on this side and save that because I think that might look a little nicer to have a space between the name and the gender. Once I click Find Pets. Cool. This is good. Okay. Let's see now. Cool. So now we have to think about actually adopting a pet. And I think this is kind of like maybe down to the final stretch here, which is good. So adopting a pet who's not adopted versus a pet who is adopted. So, let's look at what we're being asked to do here. So pet should receive a pet prop, et cetera, and we nailed all this, right? We got this done. Should also receive an is adopted prop. Using this prop, render the correct button in the pets card. If the pet is adopted, show the disabled button. Otherwise, show the primary button to adopt the pet. Okay. Should also receive an onAdopt pet callback prop, which gets called when the pet's ID when the user clicks the adopt pet button, not when they click the disabled button. Okay. So we know that I need 2 more props now to pass to each pet. So let's take care of that first. I know I need, here we are. So is adopted. By the way, where should this is adopted live? Like, where does that come from?
It should come from the parent.
Yeah, like which parent? Like Pet Browser is a parent of pet. How am I going to determine what's being passed along here?
It should pass from the app.js.
Pass from app, okay. So somewhere, I need to pass down, and is adopted is basically going to be a Boolean, right? So we're going to start off with false, I imagine. But now we have to think about app structure. Where does it make sense? Who needs to own is adopted? Like, who needs to know about it? And Nia's suggesting maybe we should go up to the level of app. OnAdopt pet callback prop. And if we remember, there was something about that in app that we're failing, which was, if we look at the tests, app, the last, did I do this? Did I cause this console log to happen? Anyway, where's app? Should toggle a pet's adopted status. And that is a test inside of app, which definitely implies to me that this function we're going to define should live in app. So we need onChange, where was it? Is adopt a prop and onAdopt, which is a callback prop. I know I want to define onAdopt pet. And so let's do that here. Let's see. Let's do it here. OnAdopt pet. That's all I really want to say right now. And let's look at these pet objects again in the browser and see what they look like. And if I open one up, it looks like it does in fact have is adopted. So is adopted is actually an attribute of each of these objects already. Okay, so that's good news. Like that means that I don't have to think about including anything inside of Pet Browser when Pet Browser passes along the pet. This pet object, as we can see, already has an attribute called is adopted. And so I can simply grab that here, is adopted, from my destructuring of my props, okay, which is a big advantage of destructuring props. By the way, you'll often see this format just for readability's sake, which I'll just quickly do this way. Whoa. I don't know why they didn't line up like that. Sometimes we'll see like this, and this is just for readability's sake. And I personally do like it like this because I think it's more readable. So now I know I'm grabbing each of these things, and that syntax is allowed. These are the things I'm grabbing from this.props.pet. And if I ever wanted to change, I can simply add or delete from this list here, which is another really, really nice thing about using destructuring here. So now I know I'm going to grab as adopted. Basically, I know it. I don't have to worry about in Pets browser or in Pet browser. So let's think about what's being asked of us. Basically, when we click on Find Pets, we have this button, Adopt Pet. We also have this grayed out button or disabled button already adopted. So when I click Adopt Pet, I know I want to fire off this method, this function I just built on Adopt Pet. But how do I do that? Somebody help me out here.
So we need to have an event listener on that piece of the HTML.
Okay, which piece?
That particular button that you're
Okay.
clicking, right?
Yep, and so that's the button right here, Adopt Pet. So we have class name right now. Let's add an onClick. Okay, and what's the onClick gonna be?
You're going to call on adopt pet. You're going to call that function that you wrote in app, right?
Yep. How do I reference it?
So that needs to come down into your pet.js component as props, right?
Okay, and so can I just destructure it here?
I don't think we sent it from app.js, did we?
Yeah, so that's the question. How do I get it here? How do I get it here?
So
can we go back to the app, and then when we call the pet browser, we'll pass another attribute on adopted?
Yeah, on adopt pet, this looks good. On adopt pet equals, oops, this dot on adopt pet, just like I did in other places. Okay, that's good. So that should help out, right? So now I'm passing this along to pet browser, and I can simply, each pet browser is now getting a pet object and an on-adopt pet prop, right? So I can now pass that along to each pet, right? So I'm simply passing from a parent down to an intermediate, down to another child, right? So I'm passing props along. So I'm gonna pass it from pet browser down to pet here. This is from app to pet browser. Here's from pet browser to pet. So right in here, I'm simply gonna say on adopt pet equals this.props.on adopt pet. Okay, this is good. And can I just do this?
is this considered prop drilling or not?
So prop drilling would be like, let's not do this, right? You could say that like, this is passing props along from a parent down to a child, to a child, to a child. And like maybe we don't want to do that. We want to use some either Redux, or we want to use context or something where we can simply get from someplace way low down in the chain and just reach up to where we need and grab what we need, right? So
Right.
yes, exactly. When we talk about prop drilling, this is exactly the thing that we're talking about here. Like this is such a pain to have. Maybe we have to pass this down through 10 components, and let's not have to do that anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this says something like on adopt pet is assigned but never used. Okay, that's not the problem though. JSX attributes must be assigned. Oh, whoops! What did we do this? So let's just see if this will work if I just say on adopt pet. And it seems to be okay. And let's click on cats, and let's click on this thing, and let's click adopt pet. Nothing seems to be happening. Why is that? What I can do, if I want to sort of debug this, I can click on React, and I can click on one of these cards, which I know is a pet card. There we go. There's a prop. And inside of my pet, there's is adopted, but there's no on adopt click, right? So what if I want, can I do this? Is this doing me anything? Like if I console log on adopt pet.
Yeah, I think on adopt pad is a separate, like it has to be this props dot on adopt pad. It's a separate argument.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So what we'll probably see here is undefined. It's not causing an error. It's not a big deal. It's just undefined. So if I click on find pets, 22 times it's undefined. It sure as enough is again. So can you help me out then with the what I need to write here?
So we can have on adopt pad equal
Const.
Yep. Equal these props dot
Cool. Yeah, I think
on
that's it.
adopt pad.
Oh, so I could destructure it right this way, or I could just do exactly what you were saying, which is just do it this way. I think I'll stick with the destructuring, right, and just say maybe down the road there'll be some other there'll be some other attribute I want to grab. Cool. So now I should be able to just say on adopt pet, and hopefully if everything lines up now, I will see my console log over here get fired every time I click. So let's see what happens.
And it's just this dot props because it's not coming through. No, it is coming through.
Good question. So let's look at the props. I'm going to look at React after. Oh, I should have done this. I should have done this first. Okay. So now I'm going to look at one of these things, one of these cards, okay, which is a pet card. And if I look, oops, wait a minute. Where's my other prop? Did I not pass the second prop? Pet browser.
I was wondering if it came through the pet card.
On adopt pet equals props dot on adopt pet. Why am I not seeing that here? So I'm not seeing it here either. Okay, so that's why it's undefined. So why am I not getting, oh, because if you'll see up here, I never saved this. Huh. Okay, so now that I've saved it, so nothing that was happening before was true. We might have actually gotten an error before with this onClick being undefined. In fact, let's just do that. Let's just see if we will get an error with undefined being here. Because this is basically what was happening previously. I don't know if that's going to be a problem or if it's going to cause an error, if it's going to be a silent issue. So let's find out. So if I click on a particular thingamajig and I click, actually, so, okay, so it is a silent error right now. I'm not seeing any major issues coming up when even though I'm clicking on something that's assigned an undefined event handler. So that's interesting. But let's actually go back to React and look and see what we're getting now. So now if I click on my inspection and I inspect one of these cards, which is this thing, now there's my function on adopt pet. And now if I actually go back to the way this was, I'm pulling it from the props. I should actually be seeing it. So let's look at it first in pet browser. Oops. So first, there we go. Somewhere up in there. There's pet browser. There's on adopt pet. And if I open that up and look at one of my pets, there it is again. And now when I click on adopt pet, there it is. Okay, now we're seeing exactly what we want. So now we're making it all the way back up to our callback function. Okay. So now what?
We change the status of adopt pad
Yeah,
whenever we call that on adopt pad. function.
So we need to change something, and let's see. It should only show the adopt button. Should call on adopt pet callback prop when the adopt button is clicked. Should call it with the pet ID. What does this mean with the pet ID?
They might be referencing the key.
Yeah, so we actually, I think what it means is we actually want to send the ID back up the chain, right? How would I do that?
Mm.
To me, this tells me that we should be passing an argument. Would you agree?
Sounds right.
Okay. And can I first of all grab the ID, right? And just pull it straight out of that pet object. And then how do I then pass a function back up the chain here? Can I just do this?
No, you'll have to do something else. I think you need the arrow syntax.
Why? Why can't I just invoke it? You're right, but why? Want to know why? Why can't I just do that?
I guess I've seen it so many times the other way that that's what I'm used to.
Yeah, but why? There's a big, this is not just React that we're talking about. This is vanilla JavaScript, right? We're passing a callback. And this is, imagine basically the same thing as when we did like, we gather a button using ID or whatever. We could say, button.add event listener. We're going to add a click event. And what goes here, this is not even just listeners. This is passing any callback. We need to pass a function. It could be a function expression defined in line using the keyword function, using an arrow function, or it could be a function reference, right? So passing a function reference works when we don't need any particular special arguments, or with the default arguments will work, whatever it is that we're calling. Here, that's not the case because we need a special argument to be passed along. So if we just provide the reference, the argument won't be passed, okay? And if we do this, then what I'm actually passing as a callback is the result of this invocation, which the result of the invocation is going to be actually, I think, undefined, right? I don't think I return anything currently from this. It's a console log. It's going to return undefined, and that's not what we want. So I have to open up, you're absolutely right. I need to open up a function or pass a function expression. And the way I can do that is I'm going to say, okay, now I'm actually going to pass an arrow function expression. And now I'm passing a function expression as a callback, which is what I want. And inside of the function body, I'm actually invoking the method that I want. And I should be able to do without those curlies there.
So it has something to do with binding as well, right? The arrow function handles the binding for you.
So the binding is already stuck because of the definition of onAdoptPet. So you're right. In some cases, that would be correct, right? But and we can test this out too. But in this case, it shouldn't matter whether I use an arrow function or a regular old function, because onAdoptPet is already bound because it was defined as an arrow function. So this is going to come from what the function expression definition here. The function expression definition. Where is this defined? It's defined here inside of my app class there. So an instance of the app class will be this. Which is what we want. So let's see now, what I want to do is not just console log onAdoptPet's called. Now I want to grab the ID and say ID is, and pass the ID. So let's see what happened. So first I'm going to find my pets. Whoops. Let's find my pets. There they are. And if I click on onAdoptPet is called with a crazy ID. onAdoptPet is called. There's my ID. This is good news. So now I'm passing information from all the way down at the bottom, back all the way up 2 levels to this function, and it's working exactly the way that I need it to. Okay. So now what? What needs to actually change? Oh, whoops! This is my little example text in there that I should get rid of. So this guy. There. So now what needs to happen? What needs to happen inside of onAdoptPet? And I can look at my specs and see what it's telling me. onAdoptPet, callback prop gets call to the pet's ID when the user clicks the adopt pet button, not when they click the disabled button, okay? But now what? So what actually needs to happen in the body of this function? If we look at my adopting a pet should toggle a pet's adoption status. Okay, adopting a pet, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so how is this going to work?
We're going to set the status of on adopt is adopted to the opposite of whatever it was.
That's right. Okay, so what does that look like?
Is adopted colon becomes is not is adopted.
Okay, but what do I need to do first? Like, what's the first thing that needs to happen here?
Set state.
So I think set state might be the last thing I do, because that's like once I have all the information I need, then I'm going to change. Then I'm going to fire my set state. But before that, what do I need to do with this ID? Why did I pass this ID up in the first place?
All right. So we have to find the pet first.
Yes, let's find the pet first. So let's say const pet equals, and how would I find it?
We use a map.
I'm not going to use map. Let's use a better method. What JavaScript array method allows us to find and return a single element, the first one that matches based on a particular criterion or criteria?
I think it's dot find.
It is dot find, and that's one of a few array methods that's the same in JavaScript that it is in Ruby. Also detect in Ruby, but not in JavaScript. So this dot state dot pets dot find. Find takes what as an argument? What does find take as an argument? Where would I look to see how find works?
MDN documents.
Absolutely, that would be my go-to. So let's look up NDN, and so find method returns a value for the first element in the array that satisfied the provided testing function, which implies that we take a callback function. Absolutely. And here's the syntax. We can see that there's a callback. There's an optional this arg, right? The square brackets here mean optional. Great. So we can probably see some more examples down here. And they'll probably even show us a nice example with an arrow function. So the body of the callback should contain or actually return the condition, right? In this case, I only need one line of code, so I can use a really sleek arrow function here where I say, show me the pet whose ID is the same as the ID coming in. Great. So now let's move this console log along with us and say that chosen pet is, and then show our pet. Let's move one step at a time here and see if this is working the way we want. So if we find this thing again, and now hopefully we'll see the appropriate pet. Once I say micropigs, find me my pets, adopt this pet, there's my chosen pet, and that looks good. If I click a different one, I get a different pet. Life is looking good. Okay, any questions right now? I'm going to just for a, okay. So I'm going to continue along here. So now what do we actually want to happen? We found the pet. Now what do I want to do? This is where life gets a little trickier. Maybe. What do I have to do here? Any ideas? Any thoughts?
So if it's adopted, then we want to show that it's already been adopted. We don't want to have an adopt pet option.
Okay.
And then vice versa.
So can I just say pet dot is adopted is going to be equal to, if it is not pet dot is adopted. Is this allowed?
I don't think so. I think we need something like a ternary.
Okay. So, well, even with a ternary, right? So I could say is pet dot is adopted. If it is, then it's going to be, so if it is adopted, then we're going to change it to false. If it's not adopted, we're going to change it to true. But like, is this allowed, this line of code? What's the problem with this line of code? Where does pet live? Because JavaScript is passed by reference, right? So this is actually that pet object coming from where? Is it coming from props? Is it coming, is it a local variable? Is it coming from state? Is it coming from, where is it coming from?
So the local variable, right? We just define that.
But JavaScript is passed by reference. So when I say const pet equals this piece of state, am I making a copy or is it the actual thing there?
Okay, so you are copying, referencing where that pet is.
Yeah, and the pet lives in state.
Pet lives in app, so it is. Yep,
It's a piece of our state. It's a piece of this piece of our state. It's a piece of that array. So am I ever allowed to just say some piece of state and then equals?
No,
No.
because you don't want to change state. That's not
Okay, so I have options. What are my options? How do I make a copy of an object?
Oh, dot is it current?
So now let's save this to what our and this is the spread with another search we can do. And now if I click on adopt pet, I still see what appears to be the same pet, right? But if I say like, let's say I'm not a debugger, so I can't really do that. But if I did change this thing, now I'm actually not changing the original, and that's legal, right? That is legal. And Yaz is saying that instead of using object.assign, or instead including using object.assign, I can simply say, well, I think what you mean is not using object.assign, right? You're talking about, let's see. So I'm just going to duplicate this line and say this. Did I do that right with my syntax? Pet2. Okay. I don't know if I nailed my syntax there. I might have screwed that up. Okay. Wait, did I not save that? Oh, pet2 is undefined. Okay. This.state.pets.find. Okay, so now my pet2 still looks okay, right? Why was it not printing both? I should have printed both. Pet, let's just duplicate this, pet. There we go. So now we're seeing the same object, and it's actually, now we have multiple objects. So the spread operator means, what the spread operator does is it allows us to do the same thing without having to use object.assign, right? So using the spread operator, with either an array or an object, I can wrap, I can use the spread operator against the object or the array wrapped in object curlies or array square brackets, and I get a copy either way. So this is kind of like the sleeker new syntax. These are equivalent. So I'll just comment this out and leave that. These above and below are equivalent. Equivalent. Okay. I'm going to leave this as pet. And now I have a copy of a pet. So I'm almost there, okay? But I'm not allowed to I'm not allowed to just like say this thing like is equal to. So, well, now I can change this thing. So now I could do something like this. And I could say pet dot is adopted console log pet dot is adopted pet dot is adopted. Okay, and then what I want to do is kind of like see, let's see, did I actually change what I want there? After change. Okay, now let's see if we get a change in our pet. I mean, I could have just console logged the pet, I guess, but anyway. Any questions about that, by the way, using object.assign versus the spread operator? Okay, false, true. So it looks like we are changing it from whatever it was to true. This is good. So fine. So this is looking great. So now I have on line 55 a copy of that pet from our state, which has been legally changed. What's my final step now?
We just need to change the appearance of that button, right? To display that it's adopted or not.
And how would I do that?
Where does that button lie? Like what?
So the button's over here, all the way down here in my pet card. So this is a little bit of a problem again. It's like, how do I get this information?
So if we change the state, it will then re-render.
Right, and that's what we need. And not to mention, we're going to have to change some more stuff over here. So let's say this dot set state. And what do I want to pass along here? How do I just insert this particular new pet to where it was? What's a method that I could use here?
You can't say dot is adopted. I don't think you can.
So what I could do is I could use a method like slice if I wanted to, right? So I could use like a spread operator to say I want to get all the pets up to basically I want to get all the pets this dot state dot pets dot slice from 0 up to my index, which I don't know what that is yet. And then I want to insert my new pet. And then I want to basically spread against the same thing. But now from X to the end.
The pet, we're not adding a new pet.
So what I'm doing is I'm snipping out the old one and I'm putting in a new one. Does that make sense?
That's what slice does. It takes it out from the point up to the index that you're going to specify.
Right. Well, and we're going to have to play with this and see if this is actually doing what we want, right? Okay. So I'm not sure if this is right or not, so let's find out. Basically, I want to change what the state of pets is, and I don't have an index. Oh, so how do I get my index, by the way?
Would it be the ID? This dot state dot pets dot.
So if I want to get the index, so I'm going to say JavaScript find
index.
array index by value. I really do have to jump into my next meeting here. Let's try index of.
Yeah, that one sounds right. I've seen it before.
And so now, so which one has an index? So which of these things actually is this thing? And let's see, index of pet. And let's see if that works. Now I want to console log my index. Index is index. -1, -1. This dot state dot pets is not a function. Where's that coming from? Line 58. So let's see. Let's find pets again with just micropigs. There's only 4 of those. Okay, so if I click adopt pets, I'm always getting index of -1. So right now something's a little fishy here. And it might be that I'm creating the fact that I'm creating a new object. I do have to stop this right now. Like, unfortunately, I know we're so close to the bitter end. We kind of have to figure out basically, how do we actually make the change of state that needs to happen here? And so that's kind of the current task. So unfortunately, I do have to go. I have to put a stop to this study group. We're kind of at our last step. So we could think about, by the way, this is one of like 10,000 ways we could do this, right? Or at least 5 or 6 ways we could do this. But the idea is that we do want to change the state of the pet to actually show that they're adopted, which will cause the re-render. And down here on this end, I need to use that information to determine which button to show. So basically, if the pet's not adopted, I'll show one button. If it is adopted, I'll show the other. That's going to be easy enough to toggle with my isAdopted prop here. But the sort of the final thing is, how do we actually, without making an illegal change of state, how do we properly change the state? So that's kind of where we are. So we'll pick this up. I'll probably pick this up next React office hours, which may even be, I don't remember if it's tonight or tomorrow. Maybe we'll knock this out because it will only take a few minutes to finish up in the next React office hours. Okay.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do. I'm going to stop this recording.